The sound was faint at first, almost lost beneath the drone of the late-night movie. The television flickered with images of a world far removed from the quiet stillness of my own living room. It was a night for staying in, a night for escaping into stories, not for unexpected disturbances. But it came again, sharper, deliberate, a rhythmic tap-tap-tap at the front door. Each knock echoed through the house, cutting through the artificial noise of the TV and the quiet hum of the refrigerator. It was insistent, a clear signal that someone was out there, wanting my attention. It was well past midnight, the kind of hour when shadows lengthen and imagination runs wild. No one should be out, especially not knocking on doors. The streets outside were deserted, the houses dark and silent as if the whole neighborhood was holding its breath. I muted the television, plunging the room into near silence, the sudden quiet amplifying my own breathing. Each inhale and exhale felt loud, intrusive, a stark reminder that I was alone in the house, vulnerable to whatever waited on the other side of the door. I crept toward the entryway, each step slow and deliberate, my heart thudding against my ribs like a trapped bird. The hallway seemed longer than usual, the shadows deeper, as if the house itself was trying to warn me against opening that door. Peering through the peephole, my breath hitched. I focused my eye, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. I had to be sure. I had to know who was out there. I saw two children, a boy and a girl, standing motionless in the cold glow of the security light. They were small, their figures casting long, distorted shadows that danced menacingly on the porch. They looked no older than 12, their youth only adding to the unsettling nature of their presence. The boy's hood shadowed his face, obscuring his features in darkness. The girl's hair was slick with rain, plastered against her face like seaweed. Relief flickered, a brief moment of reassurance that quickly dissolved into confusion. What were children doing here, alone, so late? It made no sense. The street was deserted, the hour ungodly. I opened the door a crack, the security chain a flimsy barrier against the unknown. "Can I help you?" My voice sounded strange, a strained whisper that barely carried through the night air. I hoped they could hear me, but I also hoped they would just go away. The boy looked up, slowly raising his head. His face was pale, almost translucent in the dim light, but it was his eyes, completely black, lid to lid, devoid of any white, that froze me to the core. They were like pools of ink, reflecting nothing, absorbing everything. "We need to use your phone," he said, his voice flat and monotone, devoid of any emotion. "Our parents will be here soon, please, let us in." His words were simple, but the way he spoke them sent shivers down my spine. A cold, primal fear pierced through me, sharper and more intense than anything I had ever experienced. Every instinct screamed to slam the door, to lock it, to barricade myself inside and pretend they weren't there. The girl looked up, her gaze mirroring the boy's. Her eyes were the same, ancient, empty, bottomless pits that seemed to stare right through me. Not the eyes of a child, but something far older, something unknowable. Their request felt less like a plea for help, and more like a demand, a subtle but undeniable pressure pushing against my will, testing my resolve. It was as if they were trying to force my hand, to manipulate me into doing something I knew I shouldn't. The air grew heavy, thick with dread, as if the very atmosphere was conspiring against me. The temperature seemed to drop, a chilling reminder of the unnatural presence on my doorstep. They just stood there, motionless, black eyes fixed on mine, waiting with an unnerving patience that suggested they had all the time in the world. Their silence was deafening, broken only by the frantic beating of my own heart. The simple wooden door, once a symbol of safety and security, now felt like the only thing separating my world from something terrible, something ancient and malevolent that lurked just beyond the threshold. I hesitated, my hand trembling on the chain, unable to move, paralyzed by a fear so profound it threatened to consume me. The silence stretched, oppressive and endless, broken only by the whisper of the wind and the growing sense of impending doom. I realized then, with a chilling certainty that settled deep in my bones, some doors are meant to stay closed, some mysteries are best left unsolved, and some knocks should never be answered. The modern wave of these unsettling encounters, the tales that send shivers down our spines, began with Brian Bethel. His story is the cornerstone, the genesis of a modern myth. In 1996, he was a journalist, a man of words, working in Abilene, Texas, a place seemingly ordinary. He found himself sitting in his car late at night, parked outside a movie theater, the neon lights casting long shadows. As he was occupied writing a check, perhaps paying bills or making notes, a sudden sharp knock startled him, a sound that would forever alter his perception of reality. It was a tap on his driver's side window, insistent and unnerving, breaking the silence of the night. Two boys stood there, their presence unexpected and unsettling. They appeared seemingly out of nowhere, materializing from the shadows of the empty parking lot. They politely asked for a ride, explaining they needed money to see a movie they'd unfortunately missed. The request itself was simple, almost mundane, but something about the situation, the atmosphere, felt deeply wrong, triggering an instinctual alarm. Bethel's fear grew with each passing second as he truly looked at them, studying their features. Their speech was articulate, well-spoken, almost too perfect for children their age, but their demeanor, their presence was undeniably off, radiating an unsettling aura. Then in a moment of chilling clarity he saw their eyes, solid black, completely devoid of any white, no irises, just an endless, consuming darkness. Panic surged through him, a primal wave of terror washing over his senses. He felt an overwhelming, desperate urge to escape, to put as much distance as possible between himself and those boys. The boys pressed their case, their voices taking on an edge of urgency. "We can't get in unless you say it's okay. We need your permission. Just let us in." Their words were a chilling request, a demand veiled in politeness. It was as if they were bound by some unseen, ancient rule, a supernatural constraint, needing his explicit consent, his invitation to cross the threshold. Bethel, acting on pure instinct, sped away, tires screeching, heart pounding in his chest. When he dared to look back in his rearview mirror, the boys had vanished without a trace, leaving only an empty parking lot behind. The experience left him deeply shaken, traumatized by what he had witnessed. Seeking answers, or perhaps just a way to process what happened, he shared his story online, only to discover that others, scattered across the globe, had experienced similar, terrifying encounters. His account opened the floodgates. A torrent of similar stories began to surface, stories poured in from around the world, each echoing the same chilling details. And with that, the Black-Eyed Children legend was born, etched into the collective consciousness. The chilling detail that binds these stories together: they always need permission, an invitation, to enter your space, your home, your life. And those who refuse their request, those who deny them entry, survive to tell the tale. The phenomenon isn't limited to America. In Cannock Chase, England, a woman walking her dog heard a child scream in the woods. She ran toward the sound, expecting to find a lost child. Instead, she found a little girl, back turned, hands covering her face. The woman approached, asking if she was all right. The girl didn't respond, just shook as if sobbing. The silence was unnatural. The woods seemed to hold their breath. The woman called out again. The girl slowly lowered her hands and turned. Her eye sockets were hollow, black pits. No whites, no irises, just voids. The dog whimpered, cowering behind the woman. The girl stared, silent and empty. Overcome with terror, the woman fled, not stopping until she reached the road. The image of those eyes haunted her. She never returned to those woods. Her story became part of local legend. The Black-Eyed Children had crossed the Atlantic. Not all encounters involve a request to enter. In the Pacific Northwest, a group of friends camping deep in the forest felt watched as night fell. They scanned the tree line, flashlights searching the darkness. Then, two small figures appeared at the edge of the woods. A boy and a girl, motionless, just watching. The campers called out, but the children didn't respond or move. One camper shone a light on their faces and saw their eyes, solid black, reflecting nothing. Fear gripped the group. These were not lost children. The children slipped back into the shadows. The feeling of being watched lingered until dawn. The friends packed up in a panic, vowing never to return. The silent, passive observation was more terrifying than any demand. It suggested a cold, calculating intelligence. Sometimes the scariest thing is simply being watched. The stories of Black-Eyed Children, they linger in the shadows of our minds, whispered in hushed tones around campfires and shared in the dark corners of the internet. But why do these tales haunt us so deeply? What is it about these unsettling encounters that burrows under our skin and refuses to let go? At its core, the fear begins with a child in distress. This image immediately triggers our empathy, a deeply ingrained response honed over millennia. As humans, we're inherently wired to help those who appear vulnerable, especially children. It's a primal instinct, a protective urge that ensures the survival of our species. The Black-Eyed Children legend masterfully twists this fundamental instinct, preying on our natural inclination to offer aid. It takes the very essence of innocence and vulnerability and turns it into a weapon, a tool to manipulate and instill fear. The true horror of the Black-Eyed Children lies in the perversion of this innocence, the corruption of something pure and untainted. It's the moment when the child looks up, and instead of seeing the expected vulnerability and need, we are confronted with an unsettling void, an emptiness that chills us to the bone. Those black eyes, devoid of pupils or irises, are a stark violation of our sense of humanity. They are a visual representation of something fundamentally wrong. We're taught that eyes are the windows to the soul, a reflection of our inner selves, but these eyes offer no such glimpse. They are empty, soulless voids that stare back at us, leaving us with a profound sense of unease. The encounters with black-eyed children often breach our most fundamental safe spaces, the places where we feel most secure and protected. Our home, our car, even a remote campsite, are no longer sanctuaries. These encounters force us to make a choice, a decision with potentially dire consequences. The children, according to the legend, need permission to enter. They cannot cross the threshold without an invitation. This requirement makes us complicit in our own potential danger, forcing us to confront our own vulnerability and the potential consequences of our actions. The lack of a concrete explanation for their existence only fuels the fear and speculation. The unknown is often far more terrifying than any tangible threat. They appear seemingly out of nowhere, make their unsettling request, and then vanish as quickly as they came, leaving us to grapple with the aftermath. Are they demonic entities, ancient evils lurking in the shadows? Are they extraterrestrial beings, visitors from another world with unknown motives? Or are they something else entirely, something beyond our current understanding? This ambiguity allows our own minds to fill in the blanks, conjuring up our deepest fears and anxieties and projecting them onto these mysterious figures. Ultimately, the Black-Eyed Children legend endures because it mirrors our deepest anxieties about the unknown, the things that lurk just beyond our perception, the potential dangers that surround us. It's a modern myth that preys on our inherent trust in others, especially children, our compassion for those who appear to be in need, and our underlying fear of what might be hiding in plain sight, masked by an innocent facade. The scariest part of the Black-Eyed Children phenomenon? We never truly get answers, no definitive explanation, no closure to the unsettling encounter. All that remains is the lingering memory of those black, staring eyes, a chilling reminder of the unknown that continues to haunt our collective consciousness. Skeptics call Black-Eyed Children a modern urban legend born on the internet, but the sheer number and consistency of reports give believers pause. Stories come from different countries, decades, and people who never heard the legend before their encounter. The details are eerily similar. Children in pairs appearing at thresholds, speaking in monotone, evoking dread, always needing permission to enter. Some suggest psychological explanations, shared hallucinations, medical conditions, cultural fears. But these don't explain the overwhelming sense of dread or the trauma witnesses report. The debate rages on urban myth or something more. The stories persist, refusing to fade. Are we witnessing the birth of a myth or the slow revelation of a terrible truth? The answer remains just out of reach. Beyond the supernatural, psychology plays a powerful role. Many encounters happen late at night when people are tired and alone. Prime conditions for fear and misperception. Dread often comes before the black eyes are even seen, possibly triggered by subtle cues or even infrasound. The mind can misinterpret shadows, strange behavior, or unsettling children. Once someone learns about the legend, their memory can change, details colored by suggestion. Memory is fallible and fear is contagious, yet some encounters involve multiple witnesses, all reporting the same details. The trauma is real. People move, develop phobias, and suffer lasting anxiety. Psychology explains some aspects but not all. The fear, whatever its source, is undeniable. The Black-Eyed Children echo ancient folklore. Many cultures tell of malevolent beings masquerading as children, changelings, vampires, jinn, shadow people. The need for permission to enter is a classic element found in vampire and fae legends. These stories tap into a primal fear, the monster at the threshold waiting for an invitation. The Black-Eyed Children fit into this global tapestry of deceptive spirits. Maybe these archetypes shape how we interpret strange events. Or perhaps humanity has always encountered such entities under different names. The legend's roots run deep, connecting past and present. The mask changes, but the fear remains. Some doors have always been dangerous to open. The mystery of the black-eyed children remains unsolved. For every skeptic, there's a witness whose fear is real. These stories challenge our sense of safety and the rules we trust. The black-eyed children shatter the ordinary, forcing us to question what's possible. Their power lies in the fear they inspire, a fear of the unknown and of ourselves. The legend warns us, trust your instincts and keep the door locked. Evil can wear a mask of innocence. Whether real or imagined, the black-eyed children have unlocked a door in our minds. They remind us that even in our modern world, shadows remain, and sometimes the shadows stare back with empty black eyes.